This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV, day 2 of Cloud Expo and Things Expo in Santa Clara. I'm sitting here right now with Dave McCarthy of Bsquare. Now, I've heard him talk a couple times this week, and I've had a lot of conversations with people, and sort of a common theme is, let's not talk about technology, let's talk about the business first.
Yeah, Roger, you're exactly right. I mean, I think the problem with IoT today is that people aren't looking to buy IoT. What they're really trying to do is buy a business outcome or try to figure out ways of improving the business outcomes they have today. Now, it just so happens that IoT is the technology that might be able to do that, but customers and businesses really need help trying to navigate what that means for them.
Now, in a way of not saying, oh, we've been doing this a long time, by IoT, it's like there is no the IoT. It's like a collection of a whole bunch of stuff that more or less has been around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the slides I showed yesterday was an analyst view of the IoT landscape, and there was just hundreds of companies in all sorts of categories. So if you're a business and you're saying, I'm looking for an IoT solution, what does that mean? I mean, do you pick off that list of 50 different things and try to put together an IoT solution? I think the problem that businesses have is they're just not really sure how to navigate it. I mean, you're right that a lot of this technology has existed, but the IoT movement to me is really the bringing together of all that to real solutions. And I think that finally, as an industry, we're getting there. Businesses just need help understanding how to navigate those waters.
I saw the slides. You had one of like a couple of years ago, and it was terrible. And you said, you think that's bad? Look at today; it's gotten worse. And it's not really intimidating, but it's confusing. And to me, the good news is there's plenty of choice. And maybe that's because there is so much choice at every aspect of building out that's why you have to think through what you're trying to accomplish first. So how does Bsquare go about that, helping your customers think these things through?
Yeah, we do this in a couple of ways. So one of it is from the technology perspective, we've developed a complete platform that addresses many of the major areas. But again, as you say, it's not really about starting the conversation with the technology. It's about starting with what's the business use case, what's the value proposition that you're trying to prove out. Because as we find out, different use cases require different technology components. And we're not trying to say, there's one way to solve this problem. But we have the capabilities of being able to look at, what businesses are doing and then helping them map back to the technology that it takes to get them there.
Every step of the way, is there any case to be made for standardization? Is this, to me, the word standardization, which people always use, or have always used with technology, seems to be less relevant here, or am I wrong about that?
Well, I think standardization is still important just in the fact if you want all these different components to interoperate with each other. But somebody did ask me the other day, do we think we need some new IoT standards? And I said, no, I think we've got plenty of standards. It's really a matter of cutting through them all and delivering a real solution. And Bsquare, again, both from the technology, but more importantly from the professional services and consulting perspective, are able to bring together not just the products, but the services to deliver that complete solution.
Some conversations I've also had where people have said, even though you may be thinking very, very big, with the IoT, the idea is try to confine yourself to something smaller that works. I mean, would you agree with that? And how do you go about this with your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we certainly go through a sort of a creative process of trying to map out what's your vision. And we try not to let people constrain themselves. I think it's important for them. In many cases, they don't even realize what's completely available to them. But at the same time, try to figure out a way of continuing that big thinking, but starting small. I mean, back to the point of there's so much technology in so many different ways, it can be overwhelming. So what you really want to do as a business is figure out, what is a reasonable amount of proof of concept or value step that you can go through to really prove out that the technology is going to provide the business value that you're looking for, and then you can use that as a scalability point going forward.
Probably can't mention specific customers, because can you give us an example or two of a use case or even proposed use cases of what people are doing with Bsquare in the IoT?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people are rallying around things like uptime. So the companies that we deal with are all involved in capital-intensive, revenue-generating equipment, all of which is mission-critical for these businesses. And so any way that we can help them improve uptime is important. Now, we do that in a couple of different ways. I mean, things like remote diagnostics is one way to do uptime improvement, predictive analytics to be able to understand leading contributors to a failure before it happens. Even things like prescriptive repair steps in terms of optimizing, the downtime and how a particular technician would approach a problem are all ways of doing it, and all things that are driven from the data coming from these smart devices.
How is this merging with cloud computing? It sounds like you're plunging right down into enterprise IT with what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So I may have ruffled a few feathers yesterday because I said the cloud is definitely a part of IoT, but in certain situations, the cloud may not always be the answer for certain IoT deployments. So for me, I think it's really a matter of saying that back to that sort of convergence thing. I mean, the cloud's an important piece of it. The devices are important. The analytics are important. But really, the end game is how you tie all that together into a complete solution.
Even the internet may not be available.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of what Bsquare provides in our solution is the way of being able to provide logic directly on the device itself and provide some autonomy for those disconnected scenarios, whether it's disconnected scenarios or even low bandwidth, and you can't always count on a back-end server or cloud to be available.
I said I stole that lines from you and used it a couple of times today in front of a crowd, and they were horrified too. And, I said, if you agree with me, just tell me I'm brilliant. If you don't, go talk to Dave. No, it's a very profound insight, because as we get in this abstract world of sort of horizontal scaling and all the diagrams and literally the cloud. Mm-hmm. Now it becomes real, and you got devices embedded here and there and maybe miles underneath the ground. It becomes kind of an engineering problem.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Bsquare, I think, is being successful in this space, is that our heritage has always been around embedded software, embedded systems. So we have a unique perspective on the challenges that have to happen in those places. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to poke fun at the cloud guys, but to achieve some of the scalability that people are going to need in order to handle the millions and trillions of devices, you're going to want to leverage the cloud at some point or another. But the point is, today, I think there's lots of scenarios where that doesn't always work, and you need to be able to have a situation or a technology or a strategy that handles both aspects of it.
That's it. How do they find Bsquare?
You can check out our website at www.bsquare.com.
Dave, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching for Syscon TV.